Chapter 26. What feels like an endless moment later, the elevator starts going up and then coasts to a stop shortly after that. The door slides open and we step out into a nearly pitch black area. As soon as we do, the door slides shut again and the elevator rumbles a bit as it travels back down in the direction it came from. Where are we? Pete asks. I can only see the black shape of his body against the rest of the darkness. No clue, I say as Dad's large, black shape says. Dunno. Wherever we are, it's cool and clammy, and although the ground is hard, it doesn't quite feel like the metal floor we just came from. An earthy, maybe even a bit moldy smell hovers in the air, too. I think we're in a cave, Dad says. Yeah, Pete says. I think you're right. This way. I start heading toward the only source of light I can make out, though it's extremely faint and I can't tell what it's coming from exactly. As we go, Pete's and Dad's footsteps behind me, my eyes adjust a bit to the dimness. Slow down a little, Dad says, his voice a bit haggard. Right. I should have known he's been having some trouble based on his sluggish, lumbering footsteps. You all right, Dad? I slow down a bit. Yeah, I think I can manage, at least for now anyway. Yeesh. Not overly promising, but at least his voice sounds stronger now, and he can keep moving. So why did Mom do all that? I ask as we round a dark red stone corner, shivering a bit as I wrap my arms around myself. It really is a little chilly. I mean, not just try to kill us all, but, murder all those innocent people all those years ago. And aside from the fact that she's incredibly selfish and thinks she deserves all the credit for the work on Super E, Pete says. Right, because seriously, none of that excuses any of what she did. Then again, nothing does, no matter how hard you look at it. That's really a good question, honey, Dad says. I was just wondering it myself, and I can't help but feel like a big part of it is when she was extremely sick as a kid. When she had that rare form of skin cancer at my age, right? I ask. That's correct. She was expected to die within just a couple weeks, was even on her deathbed in the hospital. Wow. I can't even begin to imagine being like that at my age, knowing or at least thinking I was going to die. Actually, I don't think I could ever imagine that at any age. But then, this new miraculous drug was produced by one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies at the time and completely healed her. Same with everyone else who had that rare form too, of course. I can almost hear a wistful sigh in his voice. I remember her telling me that ever since that day, she was inspired to become a pharmaceutical drug scientist herself. That's great, and I mean it, but that still doesn't explain, Well, Dad says, I still remember a news article that came out right after the drug did. Apparently the medicine wound up killing loads of people during its testing phase. So many it was hard to even get people to continue to try it out, even if they were paid a ton. And the company even considered canceling work on the crazy thing altogether. But then, the scientists finally got it right and released it, and it wound up saving loads of people's lives after that, like your mom's. Still does to this day. Oh, Pete says. I think I see what you're saying. Ever since Mom was saved by that drug, she's thought some innocent people dying here or there didn't matter so much, as long as justice or the greater good was served. Exactly, Dad says. Yikes, I say. Tell me about it. Now Dad actually does let out a long, wistful-sounding sigh. Guys, I hate to say it and it's pretty obvious now anyway, but marrying your mother was the worst thing I ever did. Well, aside from the fact it led to you guys, of course, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. He lets out a light chuckle. But ever since I saw how little attention she always gave you guys, I always felt terrible about that. You do deserve so much more. Thanks, Dad, I say. And that's all right. You've always made up for it. Yeah, Pete says. More than made up for it. I can almost hear the smile in Dad's voice as he says, Thanks, guys, but that doesn't make it right all the same. We round another dark red stone corner and arrive at the source of light, a narrow sliver in the stone wall. I slide through, though, emerging outside. Pete and Dad go next, Dad just barely making it with his potbelly. Once my eyes adjust to the blaring late afternoon sun, I see we just came from a cave in the side of a small hill dotted with bushes. A long expanse of desert stretches opposite the hill, framed by a red rock mountain range in the near distance. The sound of cars driving by comes from above us, so we head up the hill. Dad struggles to, so I hold his hand while Pete gingerly pushes part of his back. A highway. I breathe once we've all crested the slope. And it looks like it's the one just outside Grover Canyon State Park, Dad says, wheezing slightly. No sooner does he say that does a black, dirt-smudged pickup truck pulls over to the side of the road and a man peers out the open window. He's got a long, narrow face and is wearing a white tank top and straw cowboy hat. "Whoa, you fellows need any help or anything?" Pete, Dad, and I glance at each other. We must look quite the sight with our torn clothes, countless bruises, and blood smears. "You could say that," Dad says. "There wouldn't happen to be a hospital nearby, would there?" "Sure is," the man says. "One's just a ways down the old highway here, as a matter of fact. Want me to give y'all a lift?" "Yeah, that'd be great," Dad says as Pete and I say, "Yes, please," at the same time. "Alrighty-o. Why don't y'all hop on in? We'll be off there in a jiff." We do, Dad in the passenger seat and Pete and me in the back, and the truck eases along the road again. "What in the blazes?" the man murmurs, immediately slowing the truck down. "What?" Dad asks. "Same thing I'm wondering." Flames flicker in the rearview mirror, and I jerk my head around. "No way. You've got to be kidding me." Mom's tall, slender figure, still completely engulfed in fire, is staggering down the middle of the highway toward the truck, arms outstretched like they were in the laboratory corridor. Holy crud, how is she still alive? Seriously, what in the long, illustrious history of the pharmaceutical industry did she shoot herself up with? "Keep going," Dad yells at the man. "Keep going, please." "Yeah," I scream. "Keep driving. You have to trust us. Keep driving." Pete's yelling too, though I can't make out the words amid all the mayhem, but the truck continues to coast along, Mom slowly gaining on us. The man's eyes are bulging, his open mouth looking like it's halfway down to his seat, as he keeps staring at the rearview mirror. "Drive!" I scream as loudly as I possibly can, and the man's shocked expression shatters as he quickly accelerates the truck, too fast for Mom. She doesn't even stagger faster to try to catch up. Maybe she can't at this point. I clutch a hand to my chest, Mom's blazing, lumbering figure shrinking as the man continues to put more distance between her and us. Finally, just before we round a bend in the road, her body sags to the ground and lies still. She's dead. She's finally dead. She has to be. I can't believe I'd ever think that about my own mom, though. As glad and relieved I am she's finally gone, I can't help a deep sadness from entrenching itself in me at the same time. I swivel my head back around and we drive along in silence for a while. I can't help but notice a band of sweat glistens on the man's forehead, his trembling hands glaring white from gripping the steering wheel so hard. Dad and Pete mop sweat from their own foreheads with the backs of their hands. "That was quite something," the man says. "Tell me about it," Dad says. "Anyway, name's Bill O'Reilly. Who are you kind folk?" We all introduce ourselves. Bill gives us a quick once-over again, his hand still trembling. "So if you don't mind me asking, what have y'all been up to lately? And who was that back there?" I say. "You don't want to know, Bill," Dad says. "You don't want to know." Another short silence wafts through the truck, then Bill puts up a dirt-smudged hand. "All right, mum's the word, I gotcha," he says as we pass the entrance to Grover Canyon State Park. Only all that's left of the place is a massive stretch of charred black bits of tree trunks and pine needles lying on the ground as far as the eye can see. "Yeesh," Bill says. "Wonder what happened there, eh? Must have been a heck of a forest fire, that's for sure." None of us answer. It's too depressing to think about all the people who died there over the past couple hours. including Mom, even though she technically died in the middle of the highway. Of course, I now see her in a whole different light, but still, it's not hard to feel a terrible, overwhelming tug of loss threatening to pull me into the truck's grimy, carpeted floor. "You could say that again, Bill," Dad says. "But please don't, since we heard you the first time." I chuckle despite myself. Same with Pete and Bill. Light chuckles that break up the tension a bit. "You're a silly man, David," Bill says. "Very silly. I like that." "Me too," Pete says. "Same here," I say. Dad smiles. "Thanks, guys." "Hey, Dad," I say. "Yes, honey?" "When we get home, you got any comic books I can read?" His smile grows wider. "I sure do, honey," he says as we pass the last of Grover Canyon State Park's ruins, officially putting them and everything that happened there behind us. "So," Pete says, "what do you guys think's underneath the Grand Canyon?